Hello, and welcome to Legacy Curious. I'm your host, David Gravelle. Today, we'll share the rest of our interview with Mark Lucier and learn about his teaching career, his family, and the legacy he wishes to leave behind. Thanks for joining us, and let's get started. Okay, so tell me about your Lucier bucks? No, that's not it. What are loony bucks?
Yeah, so I went in the other room and I found, so this is the actual metal box, like in my bank vault that I kept all the money in.
Yeah,
And it's all still in there, all organized in little baggies for each denomination.
yeah. Just like you're
And,
running Monopoly, right? Yeah,
yeah, and here's my little another Looney Tunes notepad thing that I would have had ready to go on my
yeah,
desk.
yeah.
And these are the actual bills that I made. So I had a $1 bill, and the front and back all looked different. So there's got Marvin the Martian. There's a one. And on the back it said one.
One
And
dollar.
then this is
Yeah.
my $2.
Daffy and Marvin. Good. Yeah. Did you
And
just
then
make
my
those yourself? You created those?
I I did. I did it in
Yeah.
Microsoft Word and then taking the time to line them up so that the front printed directly on the back
Right.
so that you could cut them and not have any
Sure.
issues.
Sure. Nice.
And then the
That's
50s.
great. That's great. Oh, that's the big
So
dineros
it's not
now.
kind of beaten up.
Yeah.
But so the kids could earn the money. There were all kinds of things. It was like if they just did their weekly job, each kid had a job. It might be attendant, line leader, helper, runner, hander outer, collector, whatever. If they did their job, they got paid at the end of the week like $10 for doing their job. Um, just being a nice, kind kid, I would just walk by and say, "Hey, I saw you just loan so and so your pencil sharpener. Nice job. Here's $5."
Yeah.
Um,
10
and then
points
so
for Gryffindor. Just total.
that's basically what it was.
Yeah.
And so now kids just, I think it starts by, I want some money. I'm going to do this. Hopefully I get some money. But regardless, they're doing nice things and helping others. And then it just kind of becomes a habit of just them doing nice things for each other, whether they got rewarded or not. So I never in my career really had discipline problems in my classroom. Never. Because I just got along so well with the kids.
Yeah,
And
I
so,
bet.
so my Andrew story. So again, so the principal at that school, his name was Jim Walls, and he was a very intimidating, fairly large, muscular black man. And Andrew was a small, skinny grade 2 white kid. And he was not afraid of anybody. And the principal told me before the first day started, he was like, okay, you're going to have to keep an eye on Andrew. Can be a real handful, blah, blah, blah. He's been in here. He's thrown his chair at me. He's done this. He's done that. And I'm like, oh my, the hell am I going to do with this kid, right? It's like, oh my God. So,
Yeah, what is it? WWE. He's been throwing
yeah.
chairs.
And so I'm like, okay, so um, I just gotta, try and win them over. So first day, it's like just meeting and talking with the kids, no real much of work getting done, just kind of talking about stuff and how we're gonna try to do things, and did a little bit and kind of get to know you kind of stuff. First day school stuff, and then the first day that I put a math sheet on in front of them, and it would have had like 5 questions, and this was like single digit addition, 7 plus 2, 3 plus 4, and there would be 5 on a row, and there might have been like 8 rows maybe, um, and it had your name, a spot for just your name. And the first day I put on his paper on his desk, he's kind of like just sitting like this with his face down on the desk. I put the paper and he just goes, ah, and he just shoves it off his desk. And I ignore him and I just keep on walking, handing him out to the other kids. And then I come by and I'm like, Andrew, can you pick up that piece of paper? I'm not doing it. Okay, that's not what I asked you. I said, can you please pick up that piece of paper? I'm not doing any of those questions. Andrew, I put that paper on your desk. You just threw it on the ground. I need you to pick it up off the ground. Well, I'm not doing anything. That's fine. but you need to pick it up. He's like, okay. Picks up, puts it in, and he's like, like very, and I let him just do that. So he might have done that for the first week when everyone else is doing the questions, trying to do them quickly, whatever. And then the second week comes by, and I was like, okay, Andrew, I need you to put your name on there. Okay, but I'm not doing any of the questions. You don't have to, but you need to put your name on there. So when I collect it, I know which one is yours. Okay. By the middle of that week, he's like, sir, can I do some of the questions? Yeah, sure. Which ones you want to do? Oh, can I just do like maybe this row or just random ones? I'm like, you do whichever ones you want, Andrew. And from that point on, he just started doing them bit by bit. And by the end, he was doing them like everybody else in the class. And every time I wasn't in the classroom, there was a behavior problem. So recess time, when they go outside, when he'd come in, other teachers are like, I have recess time. Andrew did this and did that. And I'm like, oh my God, like, can't you handle him at that point? Like in my classroom, he's behaving very well. But when I'm not there, if it's lunchtime or recess or he's in the music room, the music teacher couldn't control him. She was just like rule with an iron fist kind of a lady. And so then I created a program with him. I'm like, okay, let me get like a little card. And I had a hole punch or no, sorry, he started with stickers. So I explained to him the day is broken into 3 parts: the first 2 periods and the recess, next 2 periods and the lunch, and then the next 2 periods. And you get the opportunity for a sticker in each one of those. And if you get a full row of stickers at the end, you got some little reward, like you could pick a sticker out of like the cool stickers. And then at the end, if he filled a full card, then he would get to pick like, a pencil or something else that I would go and buy in bulk. And he just became like my buddy. And at the end of the day, I'd have his sheet and I'd be going, all right, Andrew, let's see. The first 2 periods were pretty good. Except for when you threw a rock at me when I was teaching math. And he'd go, I didn't throw a rock at you. And I'd go, that wasn't you. All right, we'll give you a sticker for that chunk. And I would do that with him, right? And so he would laugh and we would joke. And I remember the grade 1 teacher, one day when I finished, she's like, I don't understand why you're doing that with him. I'm like, doing what? She's like, you're laughing and joking with him. He can be such a problem in that classroom. I was like, yeah, but he's not a problem. Like, so obviously she had him the previous year and he was a pain in her butt. And she sees me now striking up this relationship and laughing and joking with a kid at the end of the day. And that rubbed her the wrong way.
It would have.
So,
It would have mean that she wasn't doing it right, right? That's how some people would have taken it, right? Instead of,
yeah,
Mark, what are you doing and how can I improve and change? Or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
yes, exactly that person.
And that principal, after, I don't know, 3 months, 4 months, he came into me and he was like, can I talk to you in my office at the end of the day? I'm like, yeah, okay. And I'm thinking, okay, what did I do? Like, what am I in trouble for?
Uh-oh. Yeah.
And so I went in there and he just kind of looked at me and said, I have no idea what you've done with that child, Andrew. He would come into this school at the beginning of the day and he had such anger in him. You could just see it. He never smiled. He never said hello to anybody. And he was just a problem all the time. And he was always in my office. Since you've been here, he comes to school smiling, laughing. He'll say hello to me and to other teachers, and you've never sent him to my office. I don't know what the hell you did with that kid, but keep it up. And that was my very first year of teaching. I was like, oh my God. Like,
I have a superpower.
but like
Yeah.
without seeing the chaos of what he was in the previous year and
Right. It'd be
in
hard to
all of
believe.
September.
Yeah.
And like I just saw like when he was just like the defiance of just that, I'm not doing this. But I didn't challenge him. I didn't like come in attack mode. I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll win you over another way. Because in my head, I'm thinking, okay, if you don't do the worksheet, you fail math. No skin off my back. Like, why am I going to get in an argument with you about this? The parents are going to know when I go, yeah, he has not shown that he knows how to do single digit addition. But I don't know what else to tell you. And another thing with him that was this one was the most amazing, believe it or not, was we were doing a unit on air, hot air, cold air, blah, blah, blah. And I had centers that they rotated through. And I would take a lot of time to design all these things all the time. But this one, I had a big aquarium filled with water, probably about that much water in it. And I had 2 cups. And the station said, can you pour air from one cup to the other cup and prove that you're doing it? And they're grade 2s. So most of the kids are going, okay, I'm pouring water from one cup to the other. And I'm like, but can you prove that you're doing that? And they're like, what? And then they kind of figure out and they're like, well, how can I do this? And they had no idea. So they're at that station for, I don't know, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it was. And they rotate to the next one in groups of like 4 or 5. Andrew's group rotates to that section. And I'm standing there watching because he was the kid that would just sit and do nothing, right? If I don't have to do anything, I'll just sit. But he was getting better. And so he's sitting there and the whole group is now, they're doing hey, look, hey, but he's going, yeah, but how do I know that there's air going in there? And they're like, well, there is. He's like, no, there's not. And then he goes, oh, hold on. Takes a cup, submerges it underwater, turns it this way, takes the other cup, goes, boop, and tilts it, and all the bubbles go into this other cup.
Awesome.
And his whole group was like, oh my God, Andrew, you did it. You did it. Dude, the joy on his face, like I'm getting goosebumps just saying it.
Yeah.
The joy on his face of being told you're the smart one in the class.
Yeah.
Because he was the only kid that figured it out. And it wasn't me saying, boys and girls, let's give him a round of applause. It was just spontaneous that they're like, oh my God, Andrew.
Yeah.
Dude, that was
core memory.
Insane that happened. And it happened my very first year. And it was kind of like, wow, I'm doing the right thing. This is where I was meant to be. This is, as people would say, my calling. This is what I'm supposed to do. And throughout my career, similar things would happen with kids, nothing as dramatic as that one. And so that first year I taught grade 2. The next year I taught a grade 3. The next year I taught a 3-4. And in my head, I was like, so all of these kids, so those grade 2s, they're in grade 3 and I'm teaching a grade 3. Now I'm teaching a 3-4. Those kids are all in grade 4. So I'm like, when they graduate, all 3 of those schools are going to graduate the same year. So when that time came, I called the schools ahead of time. I was like, hi, I'm just calling to see when's your graduation? Where is it at? Okay, thank you. And I went, 2 of them were the same night. And the Parkview one was at their own school in their gymnasium. And I didn't tell any of the kids that I was coming, didn't tell staff. And I just show up while they're like doing the dance part of it. So they've done all the official stuff. And I kind of just come in and dude, I'm thinking they're not going to remember me. They were in grade 2. They're in grade 8 right now. And I come in, I'm just kind of like walking, looking, seeing, do I recognize these kids? I'm like, oh yeah, I recognize most of these kids. I know most of their names. And they're coming over going, oh my God, Mr. Lucier, everyone has Mr. Lucier. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, it's me. They're like, do you remember me? Do you remember me? Do you remember me? And I'm like, yeah, Lucia, yeah, you're whatever. And then this kid comes up and he's tall and he's like still very thin, same black hair. And he's just kind of like looking down. And he goes, sir, do you remember me? And I was like, of course I do, Andrew. And a girl beside him says, sir, you would not recognize him. He has been such a phenomenal student. I think he was like a valedictorian or whatever. If it's not that one, the second one below that, whatever it is. Yeah.
Salutatorian.
or
Yeah.
salutatorian. There you go. And they're like, he's like a A student now, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, Andrew, I was like, Ed, can I get a hug? He gives me a big hug. He's like, thank you, Miss Lucier, for everything you did. I appreciate everything you did. I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for you. And I'm like, what? How would you even remember how that all went down? Like, but yeah, so that was incredibly, incredibly rewarding, even
Good
after
for
all
you.
those years.
Yeah.
And so throughout the
Now, how
years,
long
I was
ago
always,
was that, Mark? Kept have you kept in touch with him, or do you know where he is today? How old would he be
I,
now? Would he be 30
jeez.
now?
Well, I taught for 28 years. I've been retired for two,
Yeah.
so that would have been 30 years ago. So he was in
Yeah.
grade two.
So
So
that'd be
you're
like
like seven.
seven.
So he's like
Yeah.
37 now, bro.
37. Okay. Well, we got to find
Dude,
him. Yeah.
you know what? I I have somewhere my class photos and like where I had the names of all the kids. I'd have to figure out what his last name is. I don't remember his last name off the top of my head.
Hmm.
But yeah, that would be a cool thing.
Yeah.
On that note, get this. I'm at my brother's bar. My brother Tom owns a bar in Windsor. And I'm there and I run into this guy and I look at him and I'm like, I know this guy. His name was James Drew. He was at Northwood School. He was in a 4-5 class. Guy was a super amazing athlete, very cute, handsome kid that girls would just crush on. But he, like, normally if there's like a really phenomenal athlete in school, when you pair up in gym class, they want to be with their other friends that are athletes. He would purposefully go to the uncoordinated misfit kid and help them. And as a teacher looking at it, I was like, wow, like I'm impressed that you're using your like popularity to kind of help this kid out instead of just being like, screw him. I don't, what do I want to be with him? He can't even catch, right? Um, but he was just a phenomenal kid. And I always admired him as a kid. And then when it was my birthday, they arranged a surprise party in my classroom. They arranged for a teacher to take me out to lunch so I wouldn't be there when they decorated the room. They had another teacher supervise them so you could decorate the room. And he was one of the kids that orchestrated that whole thing. And so I did my Looney Tunes money for probably my first 6 years of teaching. And he was in that probably the second last year of teaching. So now I meet him as a friggin' adult in my brother's bar. And we start talking. And he looks at me and goes, sir. Oh, and his girlfriend, his fiance is with him. And he's like, hey, whatever, Melissa, whatever. Hey, Melissa, this is Mr. Lucier. He's the best teacher ever, this guy. I'm like, what? Like, nice to meet you, Melissa. And then he's got his back to her and he's talking to me for like a half an hour. But he literally goes, sir, I got to show you something. You're not going to believe this. I'm like, what? He pulls out his wallet, thumbing through it, and he pulls out a half of a Looney Tune $50 bill. And he roots through and he pulls out the other half.
He's got the torn half,
And I'm
two
like,
torn half.
are you kidding me?
Wow.
He was like, sir, after you left our school, I have kept this in my wallet every single day. And when I look in my wallet to get money, it reminds me of how much fun I had in your classroom. And I still have it to this day.
Wow.
He was like,
Awesome.
ask her, she'll
Yeah.
tell you that how
Yeah.
much I've
Yeah.
talked about. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? So I met up with him another time and I brought him because I still had this cash here. I brought him brand new 1, 2, 5, 10, 20. He was like, oh my God, you still have them. I was like, yep, yep. Yeah, so it's little stories like that that gives me like a lot of validation that what I did was um, destined. And I'll just show you a couple of things, last things real quick, and then I'll stop talking about teaching. So when I just retired, so students like often will like make you a card or just get a card from wherever and sign it and write nothing in it. And then some kids write really meaningful things. Some kids just get a piece of paper, fold it in half, and write stuff on it. I have almost all of those. The ones where it was a card and they just wrote their name, means really not much. If they took time to draw on it, write something meaningful, I've kept all of those. And so when I just retired, a couple quick things I just want to show you. I had, so the kids know I like Star Wars. So I had a girl draw this for me.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
Like that's pretty cool. And at the bottom, she wrote,
Yeah.
"Thank you, Sir Luce. May the force always be with you."
Nice. Nice. Yeah,
Then
talented.
yeah, that's way more than I could do. Then another girl drew this with colored pencils.
Wow. Yeah, even
Stormtrooper
better.
on the beach chilling
Yeah,
out
look
with
at
a
all that.
Hawaiian shirt.
Great shadings. You use the light for highlight, the yellow for highlight.
And then the last one, dude, may the force be with you.
Mark Vader, and you got Yoda
Mark
on it. Oh,
Vader.
that's great. Oh, it's mixed media.
And look at the
Oh,
big
incredible.
reaching out
Yeah.
fruit with the force.
Awesome. Awesome. Wow.
And
Yeah,
when
great
kids,
kids. Good for them.
yeah, when they do that, you're just like, oh my God, like my heart's melting. I'm gonna cry. So like on my last day with those kids, dude, I was a sobbing mess. I was crying like a child. Um, but it
Yeah.
was all good. It was just I was just
Yeah.
telling them like how much, and they were one of my absolute favorite groups of kids. I had told them that I said I can't tell you you're my favorite, and when kids would literally go, "Hey, sir, are we your favorite class?" I'd just go, "No." I, I'd, I'd be brutally honest with them, and I would say I had a grade 4 or 5 class at Northwood that James was part of. Um, And so for this group, I said, you know what? Kids ask me a lot, "Hey, sir, are we one of your favorite classes?" And if they say that, I might say, "Yeah, you're in my top 10." Or I'd just go, if they'd say, "Are we your favorite class, sir?" No, you're not my favorite. And I said, but you know what? I said, I had a class that was a 4-5 split many years ago, like 20 years ago. And you guys are amazing. But because it was so long ago, it's really hard to compare the two of you. So I can't say you're better than them or they're better than you, but I'd have to say that you guys are a tie with those guys. And I absolutely loved my last group. So it was the best way for me to go out on a high with a phenomenal group of kids that just went above and beyond, were kind, sweet. They totally got me, enjoyed my sense of humor. Um, they allowed me to tease them and they teased me back just as much, which was awesome. That's always what I'd look for. Um, yeah, it was an amazing career. And then the other crazy
Yeah.
thing was um, in that same class with James, there was a kid named Damien, and I was at Buffalo Wild Wings with my son, and he was a waiter there. And as soon as I saw him, I was like, "Oh my God, I think that's him." Like, again, like this was like how many years later? At least 20 years later, and he's gone from grade 5 to now he's like graduating university. And then he comes over, and I'm there with my kids. He's like, "Oh my God, Mr. Lucier!" And he's going on this rant now in front of my kids, like, "Oh my God, sir, you have no idea how much I loved your class." Da, da, da." And then he's like, "I still have Looney Tunes money, and you know that when you used to do like a raffle, because I would at Christmas time I would buy a bunch of stuff, sometimes like almost brand new stuffed animals from garage sales for $1, um, stuff from Costco." And then they could spend their money to buy things at what I called the store every 2 weeks, but extra money at the end of the year and at Christmas, I would have a raffle where they could just buy raffle tickets with the money and put them in whatever. He was like, "Sir, I won a black dog stuffed animal with a big red bow, and I still have it on my dresser in my bedroom."
Wow.
And my mother
Wow.
still tells me
Yeah.
how much she enjoyed having you as a teacher for me. And I'm like, "Dude, it's awesome to see you again. Go, you make sure you tell your mom I said hi, because I remember your mom very clearly too. So you tell her I said hi." And so then I ended up running into him a couple other times, and always had pleasant conversations. And I have a gift for that guy. I've got a Looney Tunes shirt. I've got more Looney Tunes money and a couple other Looney Tunes trinkety things that I had from when I taught. Because as you can see, I still kind of hold on to some of that stuff. Uh, And I reached out to him on Instagram and I said, I have a gift for you. Please contact me and let me know when I can meet you so I can give this to you. And he hasn't gotten back to me yet. So I don't know if he's just doesn't read uh, instant messages on Instagram or whatever, but I'll have to try to find another way to contact him. But yeah, so those are some of my highlights.
Yeah, and I'm the same way with some of my memorable teachers. Memorable teachers, you and I'm sure would say, very, and I have tried to say it to Mr. Malash. I saw him, at a funeral years later, and I tried to say it to him, and he didn't want to hear it. He was like, David, I thank you, but you're embarrassing me or whatever. Like I just can't remember how he didn't want to
Right.
necessarily because I was gushing on him. I'm like, you would not believe because I'd seen him in years, and I'm like, you have to know the effect you had on me. I need you to know that. That's part of who I am. Like I have to express, and they have to know. Like that connection has to be solid, right?
Yeah,
For
yeah.
me to feel like I paid them back, especially people that I'm trying to emulate. And I got to believe there's some of him in you, just the way that you wanted to do that. So I'm sure your family will tell, a lot of similar stories about your hijinks around the house and some of the memorable times that you spent together. What are some of the rituals or some of the stories that you've shared with with your family, your kids that you want to talk about and make sure that they know them or the people that are care about you or watching would know want to know.
So, oh, oh, because I rambled a lot on other things, I'm going to make this one actually pretty short. So, my dad, before he passed away, my youngest brother, so my dad would tell us stories about when he was younger, right? Oh, this happened. Oh, when I was in the military, this happened. When I was hitchhiking, this happened. And you'd hear these stories. And sometimes when you're little, you got a certain version of it. And then when you got older, you got a more detailed version. And then when you were older, you got like the full story, things that he might have been embarrassed to tell you as a kid or whatever, right? And so my younger brother Tom went and sat down with my dad and interviewed him and said, "Tell me all these stories. I want to have a long record of these." And this is the audio cassette of all the stories
Yeah. What year
from
was
my
that,
dad.
Mark? When did he do that?
Christmas 2001, it says.
Okay. So 24 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Back when
um,
everybody had cassettes.
yeah, exactly. When that was the technology. And so my daughter has heard it. And so she has said, "Dad, I love those stories, like the one about you in the trunk being pulled over by the police, and the one about this and that." And it's like, oh my God, yeah, those are funny. And
Right.
sometimes they'll say, "Dad, just tell me that story again." And I go, "Okay." And they still laugh, and yeah, they
The
know that the
drive-in
story's
one,
not
is
made.
that the one you're talking about being pulled over on their way to the drive-in? Yeah.
Yeah, well, you and I were in the trunk, and then they
Yes.
opened the
Yes.
trunk, and then we just sat
Yeah,
up,
then
and I
we
looked
got
at Tom
out.
and went, "Hello there." He's like, "Do you have any alcohol or um, alcohol?" I think he just said, "Do you have any alcohol in the trunk?"
Yeah, it's alcohol he was
And we
looking
were like,
for. Yeah.
"No, it's just us
Nope.
and a hibachi. That's all that we had." And he was like, "Okay, you can get back in there if you want." And then he
Yeah.
walked back to his car, and the guy driving was like, "No, get out, get in the car." But so, like, there's so many of those just whacked stories. That's, as you know, just one of them. And so my daughter has said, "You know what? You need to record that somewhere and tell all these stories so that we can have it in full, so that at some point when you're old and you can't remember the details, we have it and we have a permanent record." So I will definitely be doing that with them at some point and getting all those on, so my kids will have a record of those, and other ones
Good.
um, people probably wouldn't want to know or shouldn't know.
Yes. Right. Right. Yeah.
But yeah, most of
Yeah.
them are harmless, just silly, fun things, and a lot of them involve you. As I had told you before, there's so many times I'd be in my class and I'd go, "Hey," in the middle of a lesson, I'd go, "Hey, you guys want to hear a funny story?" And they'd always go, "Yeah." And it would always tie into the science or the history or geography,
Right.
whatever the heck we were
Right.
studying. And
Right.
then a lot of times I'd go, okay, so remember my buddy Dave? And they'd go, yeah. Like, okay. And I'd tell the story. Dude, you have no idea how many
I,
stories relate to you.
I bet you build me up
Like,
in their mind. They think I'm a
and this is
superhero.
my entire teaching career, year after year, certain stories would just come up randomly. Oh my God, so funny. So yeah, so I will be recording all those for posterity's
Okay,
sake for
great,
sure.
great. I'm glad they're going to hear them again, and keep them. So then let's talk a bit about possessions. Then, you have any possessions that you want to mention or share besides the money or things that you've talked about already?
Um,
Or do you plan on doing that at the same time that you share your stories?
trying to think. I There's not a lot of physical possessions that I have um, that I specifically want someone's in particular to have. I have one watch that's a Movado watch that I would love my son to have.
Yeah, how did
Uh,
you get it? Did it come to you sentimentally, or was it just one that you
it
found
was
that you liked and you wanted
I
to
think it was a
keep
gift
it?
for my 40th birthday, and I
Okay.
just always thought that they looked incredibly elegant, just
Yeah. Yeah.
full black bezel with just a
Yeah.
little crystal at the top. Um, I just always loved it, and then it's now just sitting in a drawer because
Yeah. Nobody wears watches, right? Yeah.
the battery stopped working. I just didn't bother getting it changed, and now yeah, I just don't wear a watch. So it's on your phone, and yeah,
Yeah,
so
but
I
it's
would
a
like him.
piece of jewelry that maybe they'll wear it again, and something that's like that is, going to be an heirloom and an antique, not too much
Yeah,
longer. That's almost 20 years ago that you got it, if you got it on your 40th birthday. So,
yeah,
um, you know,
it's
and
true.
again, I remember my grandfather's and my father's watches, and that was something that was passed on, from their
Yeah,
generations. And so you'd be surprised, I bet, if when you're gone, what people will want to remember you by. And so I encourage you to,
yeah,
at a minimum, do that, but continue to think of other ways because again, you're a well-loved person and people want those touchstones. That's really tactile, memory, uh, jogger. And
yeah.
so anyways, okay, so thank you for that.
Took them and never even gave me the opportunity to select anything.
Yeah,
Um, Otherwise, I'd be like, oh yeah, here, I want my son to have this watch because it was his grandfather's. The only other thing that I really have is for my dad is this. I'm going to cover just the last three digits. This is his social security, yeah, social insurance card
hmm.
from back in the day. Dude, they were metal. This
Oh,
is
wow.
etched in metal, and his
Wow.
signature is etched in there. I'm not sure if you can see
Holy
that or
cow.
not,
Yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah, our audience sees it. Yeah,
but yeah, that's crazy.
incredible. I didn't know that. My parents have
Something.
never talked to me about that. Maybe was that because he was in the armed forces, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like it just has the Canada stuff on the front, um, like the Canada flag, and it says Canada. Like it doesn't say anything about the U.S. on there, so I'm not sure. But I have a leather wallet of his. Uh, it's empty. It's just I keep
Yeah,
it in my drawer, so
yeah,
when I grab socks every day, I grab socks. I see it there, and
yeah, yeah.
it reminds me. And then over beside me over here is this antique um, radio
Yes,
that was
yes,
his,
beautiful.
and he
Yeah,
had it
very
refinished.
stylish.
Yeah, and so he had given that to me years before when he was still healthy and going strong, and he that was something that he just for whatever reason wanted me to have. Never really told me about a story tied to it, but I know growing up, him and his brothers and his dad would listen to Tiger games on there. So
So
that's
that
kind of
sounds like something you'd want Noah to have then, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I
so
don't
I
want
just
to put
kind of
words in your mouth if you want someone
no, no,
else
no.
to have it, but um, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's just things that I haven't really given much thought to that I definitely,
Yeah.
after talking with you and having this kind of stuff going through my mind, I will definitely get acting on some of these things, like recording my stories and figuring out
And I'm glad to hear that, Mark. That's part of my, my gift through this process is to not have happen with your dad's possessions with yours.
yeah,
I want you to take the time to reflect on them and be mindful of who should have them and why and tell the story so that your kids don't feel cheated or whoever doesn't feel, um, like they didn't get everything they could
right.
from you, and that includes the story and that includes the whys, right? So, um, I'll leave it there, but that's again another reason that
Yeah.
I'm doing this. So, okay,
And
so
I
to
thank
wrap
you
up
for
this,
that, by the way. Thank
yeah,
you.
you're welcome. So the last couple of things I want to ask is, you shared so much on, I think about how you lived your life. But one thing I'm asking everyone is to share some life lessons that they could say out loud, whether you learned it the hard way or the easy way, or just things you want to make sure that you want to encourage in others. Frankly, like
Okay.
what kind of messages do you want to share there as far as what do you consider life well lived to have and include?
Okay. So um, when I was in high school, I had a girlfriend that lived in the U.S. And back in the day, um, it was common for people to just like roll down their window and chuck garbage out the window. It was just people just did it all the time. We weren't very environmentally friendly. We had no recycling programs at the time. And I remember I was driving back from her house on the highway, and I rolled down the window and I balled up a piece of garbage and I was about to throw it out the window. And I thought, that'd be pretty arrogant of me, like throwing litter in a country I don't even live in. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. I rolled the window up, crossed the border, get into Canada on my way home, roll down the window, about to throw it out. I thought, okay, if you're not gonna litter in someone else's country, why the hell would you litter in your own country?
Right.
And dude, I'm telling you, from that day on, I have not littered in my life. If I'm in like a at a tiger game, yeah, like there's stuff everywhere. Yeah, I'll leave my pop there for them because there's tons of stuff everywhere. But if I'm walking down the street, I'm not going to drop a candy wrapper on the ground. It's going in my pocket and it'll get into the garbage whenever I get near a garbage. So one of the lessons I would say to people is just don't litter. There's like why? I hate pulling up to off ramps at on the expressway, and there's always a pile of cigarette butts. And I just think, why do people feel the need to just chuck them out of their car? Um,
Yeah.
Other simple lessons. One that I know that I learned from my parents is basically to be humble. My mom, she could have many times when we were in our careers playing basketball and stuff, she could have been like, I was on the Canadian such and such team. I didn't find out about that till I was an adult.
Right.
My dad never
Yeah.
bragged that he could have been on the Olympic hockey team if he was a little bit bigger. I heard that from my uncle and then had to ask my dad. My dad's like, yeah, that's true. It's like, and my dad, when he played softball when I was a kid, he had he would hit for singles and doubles. Guys up there are swinging for the fences every time at bat. And my dad was just, he had the highest batting average in the league, but he would never tell you that. When my mom played, same thing. She was a shortstop, she was a pitcher, she played first base. She was by far the best player on their team, but incredibly humble. Another one is just be kind to people, whether it's an equal of yours, someone older, someone younger. It doesn't cost anything to be kind. There are way too many people that just have a chip on their shoulder, and I'm not holding the door open for anybody. And it's like it takes you no time to just hold the door for somebody. Even if it's a dude that's younger than me, I will hold the door for them and they'll come in and go, thank you. And as long as they say thank you, I'm like, awesome. When people walk by and don't even return the simple courtesy of saying thank you, they're not being kind. So if someone
It's
does something,
remarkable how much, yeah, that hurts, frankly, is to not be acknowledged. But all it takes is that, those social norms to be acknowledged, and you feel like, there, that was a great exchange. But if someone doesn't
yeah,
acknowledge it, that I can feel that too. I do feel that.
yeah,
I'm like, okay, ouch, but
yeah.
on my way.
Even if they don't say thanks, but they just give you that nod, like,
Yeah,
and you go,
yeah,
hey, cool, yeah, no problem.
yeah.
What else? I jotted a couple of things here. Another one is don't sweat the small stuff. Um, I remember when um, I was going to the University of Calgary, and my Sue, who became my first wife, which brings up the idea of first wife, must be a story there. Um, but she was going to be going to law school. She might have been going to Ottawa, and she was all panicked about, well, if I go there and you go there, and if we don't stay in touch, and if we don't do this, and if we don't do that, what are we going to do? And I was like, look, why are you worrying about things that haven't even happened yet? Like, you've got all this energy and emotion tied up in the future of something that might or might not happen. Like, why stress about stuff that's off in the future? Like, just wait till it happens. And then if things don't work out, then worry about it then. Don't carry all this negative energy for no reason. Just don't sweat that. Let what when it happens, it happens. And don't worry about things you can't control. I remember driving with my dad somewhere, and Windsor was horrible for trains. Now they have a lot of overpasses, underpasses. Um, and we pulled up, and a train had just started to cross. And he puts it in park, and he's kind of cussing under his breath. And then it goes for quite a while, and then it stops, and then starts backing up.
Backing up. Oh, classic.
It was from Chrysler's, right?
Yeah,
To get on the right track they
yeah,
needed to get on, where they had to come
right,
out and then go the other way or
right.
whatever, right? And he's cursing up a blue streak. And I just looked at him. I said, when you're like swearing like that, does that make you feel better in this situation? And he literally was like, no, it makes me angrier with these trains. I was like, why don't you just, when you get a train, just turn the engine off, roll down the windows, and just enjoy what's out there? Listen to the birds, like whatever. Like, why get angry over something you can't control? Yelling and swearing is not going to make the train go any faster. Just it is what it is. Just turn it off and just veg or just listen to music. And I remember him looking at me like, "Oh, that's a good idea." So that goes in with that whole don't sweat stuff that you can't control. Um, I don't think there's much else. There's two that I wrote down. One I think in general is just try to leave things better than you found them. And that applies to so many different things. It's like you walk into a room that's a little bit messy, don't add to the mess. You don't have to clean everything up, but just make it a little bit better than when you arrived. If you have a job, don't leave a mess for the next person. Like tidy up, make it at least as good as it was, just and not worse for other people. Just put in a little extra effort on those simple things. And the very last one is tell people that you love how much you love them. Don't wait until some special time. Whenever I see movies where it's like, this kid has finally reached this and he's now in the NFL and he throws a touchdown and the dad comes out and says, son, I love you. And I love you too, dad. And they break down. I always go, what a shitty father. Like, that's when he tells him he loves him? Really? No, like every day of their life, you should tell them. So I remember feeling
It's
very
free,
loved
right?
as a
It's
kid.
free to express your emotions, and it's free for the people that you care about. It means so much. And again, just bring joy to others and yourself because it gives joy to the giver. Yeah,
Of
that makes sense
course it
to me.
does.
That makes sense.
It no, it 100% does. Like my kids, every time I see them, I tell them I love them, give them hugs, and they've grown up. They will come down. I'll be laying on the couch. My daughter's 24. My son is 20. Um, oh, sorry, my daughter just turned 25 last week. Um, they'll just come up and give me big hugs. And the thing that I absolutely love is a lot of times if there's like just a brother and a sister, they don't get along so well. There's a lot of arguing and whatever. Um, my daughter has always been a sweetheart her entire life. This was her when she was little, and my little
Cute,
son.
cute. Yeah, she looks like
Uh,
Sue. I keep saying that. She sounds like
oh,
Sue and looks like Sue. Beautiful.
yeah. And so she's was always so kind and sweet to him. And growing up, there would be times where he would just do things just to get her, and I'm like, no, stop! Like, why are you doing that to her? She just did this, this, and this for you. Just stop. And he just like, okay, you're right, you caught me. Um, but it didn't luckily go on for a very long time. And it's unbelievable how much my heart swells when I just will see him walk into the room and she's on her computer at the dining room table and he'll just walk over and give her a big hug and say, I love you, Alex. He'll say, I love you, Noah. And then he just walks away. And I'm just like, oh my God, that is amazing to just have that bond as brother and sister and be able to openly share that and show that. And I know we talked about that before with your daughter, that she's very similar in that way. But dude, we are so blessed to have kids that are like that because there are so many kids that don't have that role model that shows them that it's okay and actually normal to express love and affection, to spouses, to kids, to parents, to brothers. Like me and my brothers, every time that we see each other, we always give each other a hug.
Right, right.
When we
Yeah,
eat,
yeah. You
we
guys are
always
great
give each
brothers
other
to
a hug
each
before.
other. I know you're thick of thieves. You guys are awesome brothers. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Myself and my two brothers are too. We're great brothers. I'm really fortunate. Yeah, you reap what you sow a lot of times too. So you got to have a short memory on the things that you're, upset about, and a long memory on the things that you're really happy about. And the great times you share. So yeah, I'm very
uh,
fortunate too.
yeah. Anyway, those are my life lessons I'd like to pass
Yeah,
on.
great. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, last one here, $1 million question. And you've given the listeners and the viewers a lot of things to choose from. But I want you to put it in your words. What do you want your legacy to be? What would you want to be remembered for? What is the type of person that you hope people take away from being in your life, have been in, and have had you be in their life?
Wow. Yeah, that is a big, big question. What I would like, so when I retired from teaching, usually what they would do at a school is that it's like, okay, we're going to have an assembly and get all the classes in there, and we're going to have a chair at the front, and we're going to, present this person with things and talk about them. And like they do that for everybody, like secretaries, principals, vice principals, teachers. And when I knew my retirement was coming up, like a month before, I literally went to the principal. I was like, okay, so please don't do that. I don't want you to do that. And she was like, you sure? I was like, yeah, because I did primary prep coverage for many years. And then I went into grade 7, and all those primary kids had moved up, and I've now taught them all in grade 7. Um, like, I don't know the kids in grade 1 and 2. Like, they mean nothing to me, and I mean nothing to them. Like, I don't want them there. There's no need to bring me. It's not about like me. Like, I don't need to be the center of attention. The people that know me, that that I had a connection with are the kids in my class now and the kids that are in grade 8 that I taught last year. And they all know I'm retiring, and they've all come in and wished me well, have made me cards, cool pieces of artwork. So like I don't need like public acknowledgement from people that I don't know. Like I don't need that. I really don't, and I don't want it. So please don't. So they didn't. And other teachers were like, I can't believe that they didn't do that for you. I was like, I didn't want, I told them not to. Really? And then when I explained to them, they're like, oh, that makes sense. But yeah, I just would like to people to think that that I went into the teaching profession for the right reasons, not for the holidays, not for the long summers. I went into it because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make school fun for kids. Um, you're in school for a lot of years, and you're in each teacher's class for an entire year. And I thought if I can make that year enjoyable, if it's a kid who doesn't have a great home life, um, or just has issues or hated their teachers before, didn't get along with them, it's like I want this year to be a total different thing for them that they might not have experienced. Just the friendliness, the openness, the laughter, the joy, the fun, um, and from all the messages that I got from kids and from parents, it seems that I did that consistently from year to year. So I would like to be remembered just as like a guy who made a very positive impact on a lot of kids in my classes that I've had the opportunity to teach, and I'm very grateful that I've had them. I learned stuff about myself as well, um, and yeah, I that's the biggest thing I would say. Other than that, I think just I've always tried to be kind to people. Um, I'm pretty easygoing, so like it's got to be something really big to get me upset or angry about something. Um, so like I'm not argumentative. I don't really have enemies. I don't think really there's many people that go, oh, that Mark Lucier guy, he's a total a-hole. Like I don't think that I've ever had those types of interactions with people. Um,
Fierce
when I
competitor, fierce competitor though,
That's true.
amazing ability to find the best in others, like on and off the court, right? To bring out the best in others, I think is one that, you can agree is, you're a setter for a reason, right? You're the
Yeah.
setup guy.
Wow.
You're you're the make better guy. You're the turn garbage into flowers guy, right?
Dude,
Um,
that is such an amazing analogy. I love that.
yeah. Yeah, and I knew that right away from you that you were a giver. Like that again, you taught and gave me so much at a time when, you don't get it all the ways at grade 11 from high school. It's a mixed bag for everybody, frankly. And again, made my life awesome in those years and a lot of years since,
Dude, you
um,
made my life
because of
just as
that.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad. That's part of my legacy, right? Is to do the same. I want to be known for that. I want to be known for someone that made their lives better, and I'm just paying it forward. Like so many people that I admire that do that, and those are the people I try and surround myself with. So that's why you're one of them, you know. Why
Yeah.
would you want to be
Oh,
around
thanks.
someone who takes energy and is a taker? Because you can never satisfy them. You can never. They would just suck you dry.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
Well,
I would
thanks
also
again.
people think
Yeah, what else?
um, that I was grateful and thankful for everything that people have done for me, all the way from like your parents. Dude, I remember going to my mom in my driveway. I was probably university age. And I went up to her and I was like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? She's like, yeah, what? And I said, you know what? At Christmas time, I was always so happy with all these cool things that Santa got me. And I never thanked you. So I'm doing that now, saying thank you for all the cool things that you gave me with zero recognition for it, because at the time I didn't know that it was you.
Right.
And I just want to thank you for that now. And she was kind of taken aback. I was like, oh, you're welcome. But like even just things like that, like that once we realized that it was our parents, how many people then went, hey, mom, dad, for all those years when you did all that stuff, thanks. That was kind of cool. like, like just again, just the whole being grateful and thankful for stuff. I had shoulder surgery. My son was, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old. And when I lifted my arm, I had a torn tendon. And when I would lift my arm to a certain point, it would just send like lightning down my arm. But it would only do it once in a while, not consistently. And I'd go outside and I'd play catch with a football with him. I might play for an hour and be fine. The next day I throw it twice, and then I'm like, oh my God, okay, I'm done. I can't, I gotta go in the house. And I went to a doctor and I was like, he's probably not gonna do anything. He's gonna say, oh, you're old. You're like 45 or whatever I was. We're not gonna do that kind of a surgery on you. And I basically went in and went, look, my dad was athletic. He played catch with us my entire life growing up. I need to be able to do that with my kids. Like, can you please just go in and figure out what it is and fix it? So they went in and they did the surgery, and whatever the training rehab was, I did double whatever they told me. So if they said, do 15 reps and then wait, and then do 15, then wait and do 15, I'd be like, okay. And I would do 25, wait, do 25, wait, and I would do that like 5 times. But I did that with everything that I did. It might not have been smart, but I healed up quickly. And then 2 years ago, I was like, who was the surgeon that did that? So again, like if my son was 5 or 6, and now he's 20, so he was probably 15 at the time, so maybe 10 years between, roughly, maybe a little longer. I went and tracked down this guy. I'm like, who the heck was my surgeon? So I found out who my surgeon was, found out where his office was, drove down there. And his secretary, there were three women at the front, actually, not secretaries. And they said, oh, she talks to him every week on Monday and goes over his entire schedule. So talk to her. So I told her, I was like, I just need to thank this guy for what he did, because he gave me the ability to be the type of dad that I wanted to be. I never would have been able to play catch with my son, and he plays basketball, and we've played football outside, playing with a frisbee, playing catch, dude. So I just need to thank him. And she looked at me and she was like, you're the first person that's ever come in and done this. Trust me, I will not forget. I will pass on the message when I see him on Monday. I was like, okay, thanks. But I just felt I needed to do that, because if he wouldn't have, I would like think of what I would have missed out on with my son.
Right, right. And like she said, they need to hear it too, right? Again, you humanize others too. It's another like great trait that you have is you see everyone. I try to do the same thing, is just acknowledge the people around you for, again, whatever it is they're doing. See them, the cashiers, the
Yeah.
people that are driving my Uber, whatever it is. Like, they're a person, they're a story. There's something there worth listening and hearing. There's value, right, all the time. Um,
Yeah.
so again, thank you for doing this. What a journey. We've been on here for the time that we spent. Appreciate all of your candor and your ability to be vulnerable, frankly, and to share your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. And I know the listeners and viewers are going to get a lot of value out of that. And um, we'll leave it there till I see you next time. Thanks, buddy.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your time. And for
Okay.
anyone that sat through this and listened to it all, I appreciate you taking the time to hear about my story.
Wow, what a legacy Mark Lucier's life has been. I want to thank you for listening and invite you to get involved. Subscribe, like, comment, and share this video. If you or someone you know would like to develop your legacy plan, and have your story featured on this podcast, email us at legacycurious@gmail.com. Join us in our next episode when we welcome Neil McTavish for another personal legacy sharing podcast. I'm your host, David Gravelle. Everyone has a story. Let's make sure yours is heard and remembered.